On behalf of the Education and Libraries Committee, I'm so pleased to introduce our speakers for today. They are 4 leaders from College of Marin's exciting and expanding workforce development and career education program. But before I introduce our speakers, I want to once again congratulate College of Marin and all involved on being ranked #1 community college in the state and #5 in the country by Forbes magazine earlier this year. The League is very proud of our community college. So our first speaker will be Dr. Alina Varona. She is Dean of Workforce Development and Career Education at the college. She has managed a career education program since July of 2020. And these programs have spanned from automotive technology to allied health and multimedia design. And she works closely with regional and county agencies, community-based organizations, and local industry partners to ensure that the college remains responsive to existing and emergency employment and training demands. So important. Alina has worked in education for 15 years, specializing in career education, career pathways, and dual enrollment. Prior to joining College of Marin, she was Associate Dean of Career Pathways and Strong Workforce Program at City College of San Francisco. Before that was Grant Manager and Faculty Coordinator for the San Mateo Community College District's Career Advancement Academies. Our second speaker will be Dr. Alicia Bride, who is the brand new Director of Nursing for College of Marin's Registered Nursing Program. She's been involved in nursing since the early 1980s. She earned her master's in nursing science with a focus on integrative health practice at Dominican University in 2006, and a doctorate in education with a focus on leadership and organizational studies in 2012. She taught medical surgery nursing at Dominican from 2005 until joining College of Marin in 2021. Next, we will hear from Anna Pilloton. She is the college's Director of School and Community Partnerships. She joined College of Marin in July of 2010 with a background in K-12 education, banking, executive search, and development. Anna works with a team of 4 program coordinators and 10 student ambassadors. The team is dedicated to engaging with local school districts and community partners to expand access and educational opportunities to the general population, especially underrepresented, under-resourced students. Their work is equity-centered and focuses on sharing the value proposition of continuing a higher education. Then we will hear from Katheryn Horton. Katheryn is the college's Director of Workforce Programs. She oversees programs to help community members and high school students prepare for careers that are in demand and help community members and high school students prepare for these careers that will earn at least a living wage. Katheryn is passionate about empowering voters to improve and enhance their lives through education. With a degree in communication from UC San Diego and a master's in education from Sonoma State University, she has worked at Sonoma State and at the Marin County Office of Education, as well as for a nationwide educational research nonprofit. She has been with College of Marin for over 6 years and, in her words, has seen the institution rise to a level of commitment to serving the community that is admirable and unprecedented. So with that, I will turn this over to Dr. Varona.
Thank you so much, Anne, for that warm introduction and for inviting us all here. We're thrilled to be here speaking with the League of Women Voters today. We have so much information to share and a very short window of time in which we're trying to fit it. So please forgive my brevity. I will move us through quickly and still hopefully share all of the exciting things that we're doing over at College of Marin. So I'll be sharing my screen with you all today, and I will gladly send these slides over to folks if you're interested in taking a closer look at them. And just a quick roadmap of what we'll cover today. I'll start us off with an overview of career education, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Alicia Bright, who's going to share with you all the latest and greatest in nursing and healthcare. She will then hand the mic over to Anna Pilloton, who's going to talk about the incredible work that we're doing with our K through 12 partners and really advancing equity all the way from primary, secondary, and into post-secondary education on behalf of our students. And then finally, Katheryn Horton will close us up today with her discussion on workforce development and the exciting work that we're doing there. So just a quick primer on career education and workforce development as it exists in the state of California and within the California community college systems. This may be old hat to some, this may be new information, but ultimately career education as prescribed by the Chancellor's Office is really intended to prepare students and individuals with the skills that they'll need for the future of work. That's 21st century jobs, meaningful careers, and all that lays ahead. So we do this across 116 colleges over the state of California. That's 2.1 million students that we're serving. Again, community colleges are the open access entry point to education. We serve 100% of the students that come to us. And with regard to career education, we do that in 3 primary ways. So we do that through degrees and certificates, which are really intended to create momentum for students and to create pathways both within education and to their careers. Degrees and certificates are offered in both credit and non-credit modalities. Of course, non-credit is free for students who enroll in those courses. Secondly, we do that with short-term training and workforce development. This is offered as credit, non-credit, and not for credit, frequently found in our community education and contract education section of the house. And the idea with short-term training, typically 16 weeks or less, is for the college to be agile and to respond to the needs that are emerging across the county and to help individuals who have been displaced or who are incumbent workers really get the skills that they need to skill up and be ready for work in a relatively short period of time. And then finally, we deliver career education through non-credit education. So again, this is free for students who enroll through the non-credit side of the house. And it's really intended to provide remediation for students who are needing to build some of their skills, either complete a high school diploma, strengthen their language acquisition. And non-credit education is a powerful bridge, not only to workforce, but also to credit education, which again leads to degrees and certificates. So something that I'm sure is not lost on the folks in this room, more education for students means higher income and greater earning power over someone's lifetime. So of particular interest perhaps to this group is we know it increases civic engagement. The more education someone has, the more likely they are to be voting, to do more in terms of charitable giving. It increases health outcomes for folks as they progress in their education. And of course, for us, we know that 64% of students with post-secondary education report earning a living wage. And for students who choose to not transfer and do any post-secondary education, particularly at the community college level, we know that the wage increases about 21%. So definitely powerful. So again, review for some folks and folks who've seen this firsthand, we know that hospitality, transportation and trade, and professional business services were the greatest hit during the pandemic. Professional and business services really, those are our small business owners, and their livelihood was greatly impacted. The rainbow to this is we're starting to see tremendous growth. Unemployment is down in Marin County to 3%, which is still higher than it was before the pandemic, but we're starting to rebound slowly but surely. And there's lots of opportunities for growth that the college is currently pursuing. So in thinking about growing and how we decide which pathways to create, which programs to build, there's no shortage of opportunities. I remember hearing when I first started, someone was always in line at a grocery store and had a wonderful idea for a new program that we should explore. So every week someone had an idea. I heard this thing, I read this article. There's no shortage of interesting and exciting, viable opportunities for us to pursue. And of course, we know resources are limited, as is capacity. And so how does the college begin to determine what programs and pathways to pursue and how to prioritize the limited resources we have to greatest impact on behalf of our students and our community members? And so we really think about doing this through this lens of a decision-making framework. So we ask ourselves first and foremost, is this going to lead to a local high demand job that provides not only a livable wage immediately, but a ladder to economic and academic mobility for the folks who participate? And then secondly, we ask ourselves, can we sustain enrollment? So if we create a program, will we be able to serve students year after year? Perhaps this is something that we do through community education because it's a short-term immediate need that we won't need to do year over year. And moreover, are students going to be successful in this program? So I won't move through all of these, but these are really the things that we consider as we undertake the good work of creating pathways and programs on behalf of our students. So just an at a glance of the career education programs that we offer. So the division that I oversee is career education, and the bulk of these programs are housed under my area, and they're also all across the college. Business, Dr. Bright is going to be talking to you about nursing, which is in and of itself a career pathway, and yet has its own complications and nuances that require considerable expertise and forethought. In terms of who we're serving, like the county, the college has seen tremendous growth in terms of the Latinx students that we serve, with 30% as of 2018, 2019. Unlike the county, our community college is considerably more diverse. So the college is currently exploring how it might obtain a Hispanic serving institution designation in order to be highly resourced and to respond to the needs of our ever-changing demographics. And folks will know that career education relative to the broader college population, which again is more diverse than the county, is more diverse than that, right? So we know that a concentration of our BIPOC students, that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color, are concentrated in career education for a variety of factors. We tend to serve more first-generation students, and we also tend to serve students who come from lower socioeconomic statuses. So again, this work is critical to advancing equity. And then, of course, this is why we do the work. We want to see our students succeed. And in 2019, 2020, we served over 1,500 students, and those students were getting degrees, they were transferring, they were getting certificates, and they were also connecting to work that provided a livable wage. So this is just a snapshot of what our enrollment has looked like. For career education, certainly in programs like welding and machining, we saw a dip because we weren't able to offer those programs in person. And in other areas like computer information system courses, which lend themselves really easily to a remote modality, we saw those courses boom with enrollment. So overall, our enrollment stayed flat. We were serving more students with fewer sections, and it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out come spring when we start to return even more to in-person. So now thinking about what it looks like to create comprehensive pathways and how we think about expanding this good work, the college has really been focused on strategic partnerships. So the education to careers model may be familiar to some, and I know you mentioned seeing College of Marin in the IJ frequently. You'll hear about our construction program, the partnership with Canal Alliance and Marin Builders Association, that's frequently in the IJ. And really that model predates me and saw great success under the leadership of our Director of Workforce Programs, Katheryn Horton. And now we have seen clearly such high impact practice, such tremendous outcomes, which Katheryn will share with you all later, that we're saying this is really a model that needs to be replicated across other sectors, with the community-based organization really knowing the folks it's serving and recruiting. They're providing that wraparound support. The college is serving as the trainer and the educational provider. And then our industry partner is committing to providing a living wage for folks who exit these training programs and supporting job preparation, connection, and placement. So I'll speak briefly about some of the highlights we have currently underway and on the horizon. Our Fire Innovation, Recruitment, and Education Foundry Program, the Fire Foundry Program, is a really innovative partnership with Marin County Fire, the County Office of Equity, Stanford, Berkeley, Conservation Corps of the North Bay, and others, to name a few. And really, this will be a year-long program that provides 10 months of paid seasonal wildland fire work and folks who participate commit to coming to College of Marin every Friday to further their education. So by the time they'll complete, they will have met all of the prerequisites for a fire academy. They will have work experience, they will have a letter of recommendation, and they will have completed 21 units of a public safety degree, all in 1 year while getting paid. Secondly, we have our Bus Coach Operator Apprenticeship Program. We are applying for a grant right now as we speak, and this is in partnership with Golden Gate Transit and Santa Rosa Junior College, who will be offering the pre-apprenticeship portion of this. So Golden Gate Transit, in short, is looking to hire about 100 candidates. Every time they hire those 100 folks, 85% of those folks are not hired. They either don't complete the application, they cannot make it through the skills test, or they fail the interview portion. So they reached out to us and said, can we partner to do something here? How do we, one, make this position more attractive? It's $28 an hour to start. How do we award college credit at the same time and also provide some intervention so we don't lose 85% of our applicants, but we find another way to retain them, to give them some additional resources, and then connect them to a livable wage. So we're hoping to start this in fall 2022. It will be an 18-unit, 4-credit certificate of achievement, a year of on-the-job training at $28 an hour, and folks will be full-time employees with Golden Gate Transit. So cross your fingers for us that we get that California apprenticeship grant. And finally, thank you, Wanda, and I appreciate that. All fingers crossed matter. So our certified nursing assistant and certified home health aide, CNA/CHHA. This is a program that's also going to leverage that E2C model. It's again in partnership with Canal Alliance, with By the Bay Health, and with our College of Marin nursing faculty. And I'll just, Alicia can speak to this as well. Our nursing faculty are not only working high-powered jobs in healthcare, they're teaching at College of Marin, and they're taking on additional projects because they're so committed to this work, and they know that this is the broadest point of entry for healthcare and can really transform lives. Many of our nursing faculty who really believe in equity-centered transformation say, that's how I got started, and look where I am now. I'm a faculty member of color. I believe that this will change the lives of folks in our county. So we're really excited about getting that going. We will be submitting an application to the California Department of Public Health this month. And the hope is that early spring, you will see a CNA certified home health aide program at the college. So stay tuned for that. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Alicia Bright to share a little bit about nursing and healthcare. And a reminder for folks, we'll have time for questions after she presents. She will have to leave early, so she's eager to field all of your questions. And of course, after each section, there'll be time for questions. And at the end, we've dedicated some time for questions and discussion. So with that, I will turn it over to Alicia, and you can cue me up, Alicia, when you want me to move the slides, and I'm happy to do that for you.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm one of those people who was very excited to hear that the CNA program was going to move forward. I also was a certified, well, we didn't have certifications back in the day. I was a nursing assistant who took the slow route. I'll talk to you about entry level into nursing in a moment here. Let's talk about the state of where we're at right now. Do you want to cue up the next slide, Alina? Thank you. So 2020 started out to be a celebratory year for nurses. Florence Nightingale was born in 1820, so this is the 200th anniversary of her birth last May, May before last. 2020 was celebrated as the year of the nurse and midwife, and by March, it was clear that nursing was going to take a little bit more of a center stage than it had in the past. And of course, the story of 2020 involved many stories about how hard nurses were working all over the world. We heard, but before 2020, we had a nursing shortage. This has been a known issue for a long time, and it was projected even before COVID to get worse as baby boomers started aging and requiring more care. So we've been trying to figure out how to expand the nursing workforce for a long time. When COVID impacted our country, it raised awareness of what nurses do. Hospitals were overwhelmed. The nurses were exhausted, overworked. There was some moral distress. There were problems with having to ration care. At one point, we were struggling to discover, to decide how to ration ventilators. If we ran out of ventilators, who would get to the life-saving care that we would like to give to everybody if we had to ration it. There was a lot of innovation that happened during that time to figure out how to manage those shortages, but it was exhausting. And so was the political turmoil around the politics around the epidemic and the vaccine, the problems around the vaccine refusal. There are problems with COVID that don't kill you, but stick around for a long time, increasing the amount of healthcare that people will require over the course of their lifetime. And obviously all of this resulted in worsening problems with burnout in the profession. So nurses are retiring early, they're leaving the profession. There were stories about people who were working on COVID wards who didn't go home to their families for months because they were afraid to give them COVID. They were afraid that if they got sick at work, they would take it home to their families. So a lot of people just couldn't handle it anymore. Nurses left the profession. Organizations are offering bonuses, offering overtime. They're hiring traveling nurses who are considering more expensive. We have for a long time brought nurses in from overseas in order to fill those positions, trying to do more. You know, obviously the easy question is, well, gee, let's just educate more nurses. But if Alina will go to the next slide, I'll talk about the problems that poses. So first of all, it may be a little confusing to those of you who aren't nurses yourselves to understand that there are multiple entry levels into practice. You can actually start out as a registered nurse with an associate's degree. And this is really the most cost-effective way to enter the profession. You can also challenge the very same boards with a bachelor's degree. Now, a bachelor's degree has been associated with better patient outcomes, the higher level of education, and I think the emphasis on verbal skills and self-expression that you get with a bachelor's degree assists nurses in better advocating for their patients. However, we now have concurrent enrollment that's available that helps people getting their associate's degree to continue immediately for the bachelor's degree. And also many people like myself got an associate's degree in practice for a while they're developing, while they're moving forward for their bachelor's degree. We also have what's called a master's entry-level program that is designed specifically for people who have bachelor's degrees in other areas and decide maybe a little bit later in life that they want to go into nursing. We have a lot of people coming into nursing with they've already got a degree under their belts, they've already had a career, and now they want to make a career move and come into nursing, and we welcome that. We love it when people bring expertise from other professions into nursing. It just makes us a richer profession. So you can actually come into challenge, again, the same boards with an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or a master's entry-level program. So as I said, there are better patient outcomes that are associated with a bachelor's degree. So we like to encourage everyone who gets their associate's degree to go on for a bachelor's degree, at least. But again, coming in with an associate's degree is the most cost-effective way to come into nursing. It also helps us to expand our the level of diversity in the nursing profession, which is a goal of our profession. We're trying to bring in more people who are first-gen college students, more people from communities of color who are underrepresented in nursing currently. So bringing people in through the community college and then supporting them to advance their education is probably the most cost-effective way and the fastest way to address the nursing shortage that's gotten worse. And as I said, there are concurrent enrollments available probably between 15 and 25%. I haven't quite figured it out yet, being new in my position, but about 15 to 25% of our students are already enrolled in programs either at College of a university in Sonoma State, or Phoenix, University of Phoenix. So they will be getting their bachelor's degree within a year of completing their associate's degree if they stay on schedule, which many of them do. The problem with educating our way out of this crisis is that the bottleneck in preparing new nurses is that there aren't enough teachers. From a personal finance perspective, investing in your master's or your doctorate so that you can teach, it's a pretty bad idea. RNs out of school can make they can make up to 100,000 fresh out of school. The range of let's see, the range of salaries in this country is $69,000 to $170,000 for RNs. The mean is around 113. Advanced practice nurses, so nurse midwives, nurse practitioners, certified nurse anesthetists, nurse specialists, they can earn upwards $138,000 to $227,000 a year. Whereas nursing faculty who have the doctorate, who have at least a master's, will make from $69,000 to $101,000. It's not a very cost-effective thing to do to become nursing faculty. You become nursing faculty because you love nursing, you love to teach, you don't do it to get rich. So many people cannot afford to make that decision. They're trying to put their kids through college. They can't invest in their own education and their kids' education or whatever else is going on in their lives. So we don't have a whole lot of people who can afford to become nursing faculty. Once you become nursing faculty, it's also a very demanding job. Our nursing faculty work diligently, not only to stay current in practice, because you have to maintain your skills as a nurse in order to be able to teach an up-to-date practice to our students, make sure that they're ready to, as ready as they can be to hit the ground when they get their degrees and be effective in the clinical setting. As nursing faculty, we work very hard to maintain good relationships with our clinical partners. Our clinical partners are overwhelmed with this pandemic right now. They have limited bandwidth to allow students to come in. If you've ever had a child try and help you with housework, we love the enthusiasm, but sometimes it's easier to just sort of get it done when they're not around. Well, our nursing students need to be welcomed into the practice environment and shown around by nurses who are currently in practice. And when they're burned out, when they're exhausted, when they're overloaded because the schedule is just short, we don't have enough staff. It's frustrating for everybody. And so our clinical partners are not allowing us into those settings as much as they were pre-pandemic. And even then it was hard to find settings. It was increasingly hard to find settings. So nurses in general are kind of expensive to educate. They require facilities. We've got some beautiful facilities at College of Marin. We're very fortunate. And a lot of departments have closed their nursing programs because it is too expensive. So educating nurses is a little bit complicated. It's expensive. Community college remains the best bang for your buck when you're trying to educate your way out of the shortage. And that's all I've got to say right now. I'm happy to entertain your questions, and I apologize for having to leave earlier. I had a pre-existing commitment that I'd made, but I'd also welcome questions now, or you can contact me. My email address is on the slide.
Thank you, Alicia. I'll give it a moment for folks to either raise a hand or type a question in the chat box.
Please at least put a question mark in the chat box if you have a question, because we can't necessarily see if you raise your hand.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bright. We will send you off with an applause and a thank you for making time. I know we're currently doing, is it the nursing accreditation, Alicia, that's underway?
We just gained our 5-year reapproval from the BRN last Thursday and Friday. So we're good for another 5 years. We'll keep doing the good work here.
Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
I actually have one question
Yeah.
before you go, Alicia. how many students do you currently have enrolled in your RN program at College of Marin?
Currently, we have 41 second-year students and 43 first-year students. So in May, we'll be graduating a class of 41. The following May, assuming everybody makes it, which we have very low attrition, we'll be graduating 43.
That's wonderful. So is that typical?
Yes, we typically, we dropped our enrollment to 41 because of the pandemic, because clinical placements were so hard to find. But we've upped it to 43 again, and we intend to max out our enrollment. Again, we have very low attrition. Attrition is, our success rate is between 95 and 97% reliably for the last 5 years. And our success rate on boards is very high. It's again, 95 to 97% pass boards right away the first time.
That's very impressive. That really is. Thank you so much.
I'm very fortunate I came into a very solid program. As Alina mentioned, I'm a new director here, but I've inherited a very solid program. I'm very proud of it.
Thank you so much. Let's see.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will cue it up for our next colleague, Anna Pilloton, who's our Director of School and Community Partnerships. Anna, take it away.
Thank you so much, Alina. And if we could go to the next slide. I love starting with this because it features shining faces of a lot of our students. This is actually taken from a couple years ago. It's our big priority registration event that we hold in May for graduating seniors. But I wanted to share this because it really kind of demonstrates the energy and the enthusiasm of our students, many of whom have been dually enrolled with us. So we're going to start by a little bit of a definition. Dual enrollment is simply a high school student's ability to take a college course at a community college like ours. And you might hear other terms: concurrent enrollment, co-enrollment, middle college, early college. They're basically all describing the situation where a student is straddling two systems. And community colleges, I think, really use this as a centerpiece of the equity work that we're doing by giving that early exposure to high school students. And the word pathway is a very important part of the work that we do. Simply, I would say pathways exist for a variety of reasons. One is to provide some sort of a continuum of learning, but I'll also say that college to many students can be mystifying, can be abstract or theoretical. And so a pathway provides some structure so that students can see their way through. And in fact, a lot of the terms we use have that kind of navigational context, and you'll hear that as we go through the presentation. So, and next slide, please, Alina, thank you. So here's another example of the sense of a continuum of something that has steps that are progressive and they evolve over time. This happens to be a specific model specific to the College of Marin. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the continuum, we actually run a program in some local high schools, starting with 9th graders. It's called COMPASS, which stands for College of Marin Providing Access and Supporting Success. And the program is exactly that. We identify students who are the first in their family to go to college from underrepresented, under-resourced populations. And so these are students that are totally at promise, that given the exposure to the value proposition of college, that they then can enroll while they're still in high school to build that skill and knowledge level. They can explore different areas of interest. And that way, when they're ready to cross the threshold as graduating high school seniors, they can make an informed decision about what they do next. And so our COMPASS program is the beginning of our formal programming. We also do work with elementary schools as well as middle schools here in the county. We've met with 4th graders. I'll take a team of student ambassadors out with me, and they'll ask the students, what would you like to be when you grow up? And then they'll share their own stories about what they remember from 4th grade and how they ended up at the college and what they're doing there. Middle school students, obviously, we're helping them to prepare for high school, which then prepares them for college. So there's a little, there's that continuum of thinking there as well. And we'll talk later on other slides about next steps, or while students are still in high school, the fact that they can take courses with us, they can attend our summer career academies, and they can take courses at their high school sites which are either taught by their high school teachers or by our instructors. And then the continuum beyond that, after graduation, we run a transition program for graduating seniors called Summer Bridge. We know that this works. It starts a very early look at developing a learning community where students feel connected, not just to the college, but to each other. There's a positive sense of accountability to it. And we find that students who attend our Summer Bridge actually do stay with the program, they complete and they succeed. They transfer, they earn their certificates and or associate's degrees. Other programs within the college that extend the learning are EOPS Care and CalWorks, have a huge financial aid component to it. And once again, a learning community for some of our students that have the greatest financial needs. And then the development of more learning academies within the college have also helped students to find that emotional stickiness with each other, with a particular subject area, within an affinity group, and that keeps them focused on their studies, and then they're therefore complete and succeed. And we also provide those links to internships so they can further explore in their career areas. They're making more informed decisions about what they'd like to do after their higher ed. And then, of course, community colleges, we have wonderful transfer admissions guarantee programs. We've got a full-time transfer coordinator who focuses entirely on that process and supports the students along with their counselors, and also internship and other workforce related support systems. So that's the continuum. Starts at a very early age and continues through the college student's career. So once again, dual enrollment at COM, we've talked about, this is another term for dual enrollment. We brand our dual enrollment as Jumpstart, and it is exactly that. It gives high school students that early look at college, and they're able to enroll up to 11 units in college courses. So they're considered to be a special admit within our system. Summer academies, I've mentioned that before. Some of you may remember in the high schools, there used to be lots of regional occupational programs, or ROP classes, and due to cuts in education, many of those programs have gone away. And so our summer academies, as well as our dual enrollment in general, is the, I guess, the 22nd century version of ROP, giving students an early look at careers and also an ability to build their skill and knowledge level taking college courses. Our summer academies, and we'll talk in greater detail about the offerings, but it's a wonderful way for students to explore and expand their understanding. And we always tell students that it's very hands-on, very interactive, lots of speakers come and meet with the students, and that there's no homework and no tests. And they are short courses. They're generally anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. So short courses over the summer, and highly, highly popular. You'll hear the term satellite classes, which just mean that there are some classes that we will place at a high school site. We talk about barriers within education. Transportation can be a barrier for many students, that when they finish up their day at high school, it's difficult for many of them to go home and then to find their way to one of our college campuses, whether they drive, whether their parents drive them, or whether they take public transportation. And so as a result, we're able to actually plant several targeted classes at certain high schools, and that eliminates the transportation barrier, provides greater access. And those teachers are the actually College of Marin professors who are teaching those classes at the high school sites. Once again, our Compass program, as I mentioned, is the 4-year 9th through 12th grade program that is college access and preparation all rolled into one. And all of the students that successfully complete that program walk away with a handful of college credit, and they're ready to go. So next slide, please. I just want to share, well, first of all, some photographs. How are we working with our high schools to support equity? So articulation, I've mentioned that there are certain programs, many of them tied to career pathways, where we will evaluate a particular curriculum. It could be auto tech. A number of high schools are still offering those programs, and one of our auto tech professors will review the content and the course outline, and if it matches up with our own courses, then we're allowed to articulate the credit, which means the student can take 1 year of auto tech at a high school, and receive 3 units of college credit. That happens to be a photograph actually of one of our graduating classes of our Compass program. And so many of these students are doing exactly that, taking courses at their high school, receiving college credit for that, but also enrolling in our classes. Dual enrollment, once again, is just the ability for students to take, whether they're general education or career courses. This happens to be a career fair at one of the high schools, and behind the tables are a group of our student ambassadors sharing information. We'll very often ask different faculty members or students from our career programs to come with us, because the work they do and the studies that they are involved with are very visual. And one of our favorites was actually a court reporting student who brought his machine with him, and was telling the students that if they've ever watched a TV show where there's a courtroom scene, he would ask, who is the person do you think who's sitting in front of the judge? Looks like they're typing something, and then he would explain what court reporting is about. And then college access and readiness experiences. This is actually a photograph from a tour, I believe, of high school freshmen who came, and we took them to the drama department. And this is actually a drama student demonstrating some of the exercises they do in that program. So our work is exposure, it's contact, and it is encouraging students to enroll in college classes. One of the big countywide initiatives going on right now, which is related to our work, is that every district is represented, and we are all working very hard in expanding the teacher of color pipeline. There's extensive research that shows that students, regardless of their ethnicity or background, benefit by being taught by some teachers of color. And the mismatch here in the county of Marin of certainly of the diversity of our students and the diversity of our teachers made us realize that we need to work harder to expand that pipeline of teachers of color. We're doing that in a number of ways. The college is, once again, in our work with the K-12 system, when we talk with 4th graders or with 8th graders or with high school students for that matter, we'll ask them early on, what do you think you're interested in? And we've noticed that, particularly for high school students, a very high percentage of the students here in the county will say, I think I really want to work for a nonprofit. I'd like to give back because I've benefited, or my family has benefited from local support from nonprofits. And so they'll say things like social justice, nonprofit work, basically kind of service learning. And we know that education is part of that social justice continuum. And so actually one of our summer career academies was a combination of education and social justice. And so that is part of the work. A lot of districts are actually looking at providing incentives for graduates of their district who after high school go on to college, earn their degrees, earn their credentials, and then come back to their home district where they can receive a bump on the salary scale, as well as some incentives that really help with housing and other expenses. As we all know, it's very expensive to live in this county. And so there are some academic and career as well as financial incentives that are being developed countywide in order to increase that pipeline of teachers of color. A little bit more detail. This is such a great list of summer career academies. This is our working list, and thank you, Katheryn, for updating based on Alicia's presentation, that we know that health occupations, that's also a very popular discipline, which high school students talk about. Game design, multimedia design, something that when we ask students, what's your passion? Many of them will say, I love video games, and we'll say, well, that's great. So that's passion. And what about purpose? And so within the game design and our multimedia, they can actually design video games. Entrepreneurship is a subset of kind of business as a larger industry. We're finding a growing interest in entrepreneurship. And in fact, we are piloting or just launching a program that really is focused on entrepreneurial mindset. Aside from finance and accounting and all of the other skills you need in business, is what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? And a lot of it has to do with mindset. Public safety, Alina has talked about some of the different public safety programs, the fire program, education, once again, combined with social justice, medical career exploration. The building engineer, construction, and architecture is a really wonderful melding of what we call general education and career education. I like to use the term crosswalking, and I don't think I'm using it in its exact definition as it's used within the context of career education. But what I mean by that is for students to understand and appreciate that by taking general education courses that might be engineering, for example, which is a transfer area for us, but combining that with construction, with architecture, with machine tech, fabrication, builds their knowledge and their skill set at the same time, which makes them more attractive candidates for four-year transfer as well as for careers. And then currently under development, we're looking at an auto, machining, and welding summer academy. So there's something for everybody. And it's a wonderful opportunity for students to explore and expand their career.
Anna, just a time check. I'm going to move us forward.
Yep.
And I saw a question in the chat box.
Right. Wonderful. So just some highlights in terms of growth. You can see from the numbers, 23 students when we started, up to 223, and most of them earning college credit. And most of them then continued when they asked the question, what do I do next? Well, this was great. What do I do next? We actually hand them a list of courses that are related to what they just took, and we encourage them to enroll with us. So yeah, thank you. And this is just, I love this because it includes the word cohesive. Once again, it's talking about a continuum and trying to make sense out of the pathways and out of the continuum for students, so that way they see how summer academies is a wonderful place to start. Then dual enrollment pathways, many of which are reflected by work going on in the high schools, and then what they move on to in college. So really, really happy to share all of this value proposition with you, and would love to take questions.
Thank you, Anna. I did see one question in the chat box, Anna, if you have that handy.
Yeah. See.
Gabrielle asked, are there limited openings for Summer Bridge, and therefore are there students who would love to be in it who are unable to take part in that?
It's a great question. Thank you, Gabrielle, for that. There is no limitation. The numbers have grown over the years. We've expanded the sections, and actually, in small thanks to the pandemic, what we have found is that we will be live this summer with June sessions and July sessions, but we will maintain a July online session for those students who physically cannot attend because they're working or they're traveling or they have family obligations. So we're trying to use the modalities to provide access to Summer Bridge as much as we can. Thank you. Any other questions? You can always reach me on my email, apilloton@marin.edu, or outreach@marin.edu. I'm happy to provide any information you might have. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Anna. And folks, I'll have everybody's contact information at the end of the slide deck, which we'll send over to you. So as questions continue to emerge, you can contact any of us and we'd be happy to follow up with you. Thank you so much, Anna. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Workforce Development Programs, Katheryn Horton.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. And I am sensitive to time. So how much are we going until 1?
Yeah, we'll go until 1. You've got 10 minutes, and I can give you a cue as we're getting near the close of our time.
Okay, great. Well, I'm happy to talk to you about workforce development at College of Marin and in the county, actually. And I'm going to get into the weeds just a little bit, but hopefully it'll be clear to you. I wanted to start with this ecosystem. And this actually came into play pretty heavily in about April of 2020, when we were instructed as community colleges to spend some of our funds that we receive to create short-term programs for folks to help them get back into the workforce. So to get skilled up in a short amount of time and to be able to enter a new workforce, a pandemic resilient workforce, what we like to call. And so to do that, this took a lot of effort in communicating with all of our partners in the county, taking a look at the industry, you know, the labor market demand, which was fluctuating all the time with this pandemic at the time. Community-based organizations, what were their clients needing? Ones in Marin City, Canal, the Community Action Marin. So a lot of different organizations working with clients who really needed help. We tapped into our county agencies and to Marin Economic Forum. Also touched base with Marin County Office of Education, their graduating seniors. And then mostly we really worked with our partners, Workforce Alliance of the North Bay and Career Point, to really determine what are the programs and skills that are needed. So with that, we came up with several different certificates that we offered throughout the year and are still offering some of them. But it really helped to help people, our residents, skill up, get into a workforce and feel good about jumping into a new career. Next slide. So our workforce development department, we are, just to kind of set the table a little bit, we receive funding from the state, and it's really priority funding for workforce development. So we receive funds called Strong Workforce Funds, adult education program funds, as well as federal Perkins funding. Our adult education and non-credit, we work with a consortium of folks in the county, education in adult education from all the different districts in the county. We concentrate on English as a second language, on basic skills development, and we're really working on more bridges to career training programs, and I'll go into more of that in a minute. We also work very closely with our industry partners. We're continually trying to hone in on what are the skills needed in this county for our businesses, and then also in the region. What are we looking at that programs? Alina went into how we develop programs. So is there really a labor market need for this? And if so, what are the exact skills that folks are needing? And then industry partners to help with on-the-job trainings and internships, and in the end, of course, jobs. And we are looking for jobs that pay a living wage, which makes it tricky. So as Alina was saying, you know, I get a lot of people in my ear saying we should have this type of program and that type of program. And while they're all very interesting and things that I would love to just jump into, we really have to take a step back and look at how we can best provide for our county and for the economics. Short-term training, as I was talking about earlier, really just rapid pipeline to jobs. We try to make them 12 to 16-week programs. During COVID, all of them were online. We're retaining some of that because we've seen the success of it. And we're really, you know, always looking for those employers who are willing to hire. So that's what makes up the short-term trainings. We are forever moving forward, looking to improve on what we are doing and create even more partnerships and opportunities for students. So we're taking a harder and longer look at all of our short-term trainings. You might have seen us in regard to marketing. We're doing a lot with the Marin IJ, with advertising and public relations, with articles. We also have quite a large social media presence now. It started small and we're building on that. And we just really want to get the word out that College of Marin is providing all that we can in the way of workforce development for our residents. We are building on the success of these high impact programs that we have, like E2C, and continuing to partner strategically. So some of the bright spots right now, and we've talked about all of these except for the last one, but the certified nursing assistant, very excited about this coming to fruition. And we know that there's a huge need And we're really keeping our eye on inviting those to the table who can pay a living wage or scaffold up to it over at the start of the program. The buzz coach operator, we're nose to the grindstone now on this grant. And I've talked to many of our community-based organization partners who are just excited and want a flyer yesterday to tell their clients about. So we will certainly get the word out as soon as our grant gets accepted. And then a new emerging field is a partnership with Marin Clean Energy. And this is a mini program that looks like it produces good rewards. We are just starting it next semester. Students actually take one class, an electronics class. They can certainly go on for a certificate, but during that class, they are placed in an on-the-job internship with one of Marin Clean Energy vendors that they work with. And they are paid during that on-the-job training, and which will hopefully lead to living wage jobs with one of these companies. SEI, I don't know if you're all familiar with them, Strategic Energy Innovations. They are this, third leg of the stool that we always look for to provide wraparound services. So they are helping these folks with cleaning up any past record that they have, getting driver's license, helping with housing insecurity or food insecurity. So we really rely on those community partnerships to provide the wraparound. So this is a little bit about the E2C program. We've been leading up to this, and you did read in the paper, I think on Saturday, the article came out. But every single student in this program has seen an employment gain. So it is either going to a new job, getting raises, having the confidence to ask for higher positions. The average wage growth, from $21 an hour to almost 26. We've had 116 students served so far, and the retention is just great on this program. And it's so near and dear to our hearts just because everybody involved is just so lovely and so eager. So we plan to double what we're doing. Canal Alliance has the interest among their community members to keep this project going and even growing. So we look forward to growing that program, as well as we'd like to use this model to grow other programs. So stay tuned for that. So good. I was quite under time.
Exceptional, Katheryn. That was perfect. We'll turn it over. Questions for Katheryn, and I'll just give it a moment. I see a little action in the chat box. Good. Robin shared following College of Marin on social media is a great way to stay up to date. So Katheryn, congrats, marketing efforts at work there.
Great.
Okay, and I'll stop share. And Anne, I will turn it over to you. That takes care of our portion in terms of presenting information, and we're happy to engage in discussion with the group.
Wonderful. That was so interesting and really inspiring. I'm just so happy to hear about all this terrific work. Thank you, all of you. So any questions, anybody, or you still need to mull this over for a while? It's a lot to think about. You can put your hand up. I can say, oh, Wandine?
I just wondering, I saw in the paper where the construction program's having a graduation December 11th at IBC, and I'd be interested in going to support those students, and I didn't know where the graduation will be.
It's going to be at the farm area of the college from noon to 1. At the request of the students, they wanted to keep this one a little bit low key, although Wandine, I'm sure that you would be invited.
I just wanted to show support from the board because I think it's a fabulous program. And
that would actually be terrific. And this particular program was sponsored by Bank of America. So we got a $5,000 grant from them to support this program this time around. So
You all made me very proud. So on behalf of all the board members, I just want to say thank you for your presentation today.
thanks, Wendy.
Okay, anyone have any questions for our wonderful speakers? Lynn?
Yeah, that was a fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. I wonder, you mentioned your outreach is social media and the IJ, that sort of thing. Do you do outreach outside the county to bring people into the county, or is it really focused on people who are already here?
It really depends on the program that we have. If we're doing something regionally, like with this bus coach operator, we will certainly advertise in Sonoma County as well. For now, we have been keeping it pretty local. I'm trying to think, except for, social media, which goes outside. If we do have particular programs, we can widen our reach with social media. So we have, I forgot the language right now, but, to broaden the reach of any of the programs, and you can specify certain areas around the county or around the region. I'm happy to hear other ideas if there are some.
Thank you.
It's
That's great.
such a great question, Lynn. And for us as a community college, each community college has their designated service area. And so you want to tread thoughtfully before reaching too broadly across into another community college's service area. But a couple things I would say, certainly for our public safety degree, which we just passed through curriculum committee, there is no other public safety degree to the north or south of us. And so that's something that we would certainly advertise more broadly, because we wouldn't be infringing on anyone else's, service area. Thinking about our CNA program, we will be advertising that quite broadly. We were in dialogue with Santa Rosa, and they said, please, we have such a demand and no more capacity. We encourage you all to pursue that. So that's something that will certainly broaden out the way that we advertise for that. And of course, as Katheryn mentioned, the bus coach operator apprenticeship, we're doing this in strategic partnership with Santa Rosa. So our marketing efforts will be quite broad. And apart from Mission College and a college in Soledad, there's no one else doing this work. So we're really excited to get that underway. So the long and short of it is, typically we try to stay county focused. And when we see that there's a gap in service and we won't be infringing on our colleagues, we broaden out that advertising.
That makes total sense. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Well, you can see why College of Marin got ranked #1 in the state and #5 in the country. It just makes me so happy to hear about this wonderful work. It's so important. It's just vital to our community, I feel. Such a service. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we just thank our speakers. This is terrific. Thanks so much for taking the time.